Hello, everyone. I am Nicole van der Hoeven. Usually, I'm talking about performance testing and site reliability engineering elsewhere on YouTube in my job as a developer advocate for K6 and Grafana Labs. But on this channel, I talk about the tools that I use to min-max my life. And speaking of min-maxing, my guest today happens to play a big part in helping me min-max my weekends. Specifically, while I'm playing TTRPGs. Jeremy Valentine, welcome to the channel.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Tell us about yourself. Who are you? What are you doing here?
Well, like you said, my name is Jeremy Valentine. I'm a big D&D player and big Obsidian user, and I make most of the D&D plugins for Obsidian.
I think I use every single one of your TTRPG plugins. I do because I use them. I personally play D&D 5e twice a week, Pathfinder 2e once a week, with a little bit of Merkborg and other things, OSR things that are like one shots that are more regular. So thank you for making awesome plugins that I literally use almost every day.
Yeah,
But don't tell the
thanks for
people
you.
at work that.
Yeah, right.
So what
Yeah.
is it that you do for a living? I sometimes think that you must be doing this full time.
Yeah, interestingly enough, I'm actually starting a new job on Monday. But prior to that, I am a degreed mechanical engineer. And I've been for the last 4 years working as an R&D engineer focused on robotics and automation. And then, obviously in my downtime, I would just tinker with Obsidian plugins. But I'm moving into a role as a senior software engineer now on Monday, so that's
Did
exciting.
did the Obsidian team know that you were looking for a job?
So yes, I don't know how much of this I'm allowed to share, but I did talk to them a little bit about doing some, um, I guess, part-time kind of freelancing work, but it didn't end up going anywhere. But
Oh,
yeah,
that's a shame because I think that you are one of the most prolific Obsidian plugin developers that I know of. I think even you were surprised when I counted them all manually and
yeah,
there were 13 plugins.
yeah, I wasn't expecting that. I guess mentally, I still think I'm around 4 or 5.
Yeah, so let's just go through it. So maybe we should go through very briefly what each of the plugins are, and then we can dive into the
Yeah,
demos if that's okay with you.
yeah, absolutely.
So I've got this thing here, which by the way is just Obsidian with the core plugin for slides. So here are my favorite plugins, the TTRPG plugins. And yes, I know I included Admonition in there. I know that it's not just for
It counts.
TTRPG. For me, it is TTRPG. But let's talk about 5e stat blocks, or is it TTRPG stat blocks now?
It's TTRPG stat blocks now, but I would say most people probably use it for 5e still. So
So it is a generator of custom and SRD stat blocks. So not just SRD, I guess. It's basically any sort of monster that you can get in a certain format. You can display it in the typical like official D&D 5e way. Or I
yeah,
guess you're expanding to different formats now?
yeah. So I guess it was a couple months ago now. I worked on and added in a layout creator. So I include the 5e stat block as what I call layout. Um, so it has the name, the alignment, and the monster type, and all that, like as a layout. But then users can go in and create their own custom layouts and export them, share them. Someone actually took the time to add in, I can't remember what it is, Pathfinder or Fate, I think, to the plugin.
Oh,
They
awesome.
Yeah, so it comes included now. But I know people have worked on Pathfinder, have worked on the Star Wars one, I think. So So you can create
Mm.
your own layout and have it render however you want. But all I play is 5e, so that's what it comes included with.
Okay. And what about Obsidian Admonition, which is all the buzz this last month as well?
Yeah, well, it was basically just added into core, so people are loving that. They don't need the plugin anymore. So
I still have the plugin because it
yeah,
adds a few like nice quality of life stuff. Like I like one of the things I like is actually the interface. So I never remember what the icons look like. So it's nice to
mm,
be able to call that up and choose visually which one I want. But
yeah,
how do you feel
and
about it being now Obsidian callouts?
it was a little bit bittersweet. I Like Hat, the developer of Obsidian, reached out to me and I kind of worked with him a little bit once he had a prototype of the call out build created to get, some of the common things that people asked me about fixed before they rolled out and stuff like that. But, it was one of my favorite plugins, so it's a little bit sad to get it rolled into core, while at the same time, it means I don't have to deal with the bug fixes. So
And it's
plus,
also a
I mean, it's
huge
it's an
compliment.
honor. Yeah, it's a huge honor.
Yeah.
Um, and obviously, they gave me big props for creating the initial prototype and all of that. So I kind of took the concept of the plugin and reoriented it towards enhancing the core feature instead of trying to compete with it with my own set of features. I took those features and made them enhance what Obsidian does natively now.
Okay. Okay. And then also dice rollers, another one of those things that I started using for TTRPG reasons, but it's actually become way more than that because dice roller is a way to randomly select elements, whether that's a block or a page or what is it? Can you do a paragraph or something?
Yep.
How would you
Yeah,
explain
I mean, it
it?
can even do as far down as a single line of your note. So basically, you can use the plugin to get a random anything. That could be a random page tagged with a certain tag or a random heading from uh, a page or something like that. It started as inserting actual dice rollers into your note. So like you'd create a 1d20 or something into your note, and then it went way beyond that.
Oh, we've got a comment from Lila at home who loves the dice roller.
Yeah, it's
That's
one of
some
my
love there
favorites.
for you. Yeah, me too. And Fantasy Calendar, another one that I also used because it's a way to, it's kind of like the calendar plugin that I believe Liam Kane created, except that
Yep.
it's it was intended for fantasy worlds. So kind of like Galarian if you're playing Pathfinder or Forgotten Realms or whatever D&D world you're using. But I've also been using it as like a content calendar. I don't know if I told you that.
Oh, you didn't? No, so you're using the
Yeah.
Gregorian? That's
Yes,
awesome.
I am. Maybe I'll show that a bit later too. Actually, I
Yeah.
was going to go through all these plugins, but let's just dive into it now. Let me show you 5e stat blocks. Can you explain why I am the one that's demoing this and not you, by the way?
Yeah. So it's a little bit of a funny story, but I don't really use my plugins that much. I mean,
That seems
I,
so funny to me.
yeah, I, um, I have one dedicated group of players that I DM for, and we've become since COVID a little bit spotty with playing. Um, so I use them in parts, especially admonitions is the big one I use. But really, I don't use them that much, which I know people always find surprising.
Yeah, we have a question from Gura Verma. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. Can we somehow sync Google Calendar into Fantasy Calendar?
I've had this asked a couple times, and it's really tricky because theoretically, yes, you can, but when you think of fantasy calendar, you can't, like, even though the Gregorian preset is super accurate, there's no guarantee that what the calendar you make is still super accurate, if that
Mm.
makes sense. So
Yeah,
if you
because
change,
it's meant to account for fantasy calendars, right? So you can
right,
change the name of the days,
anything.
add eighth day or anything.
Yeah, so the concept of syncing an external calendar into it gets a little bit hard to wrap your mind around. And I don't know if that feature will ever get imported. I would say if that's something you need, I think there's a calendar plugin out there that does that now. Full Calendar, I think it's called.
Oh yeah, I've seen that, but I haven't really used it because I just use Google
Yeah,
Calendar.
yeah, right. Yeah,
I like to be able to use Obsidian even when I'm not online,
yeah,
which is rare,
yeah.
admittedly. So here's one of the things that I use. Well, I guess I should use. Well, I can show. This is actually data view, right? But this is a way that I'm querying my bestiary. So this is I have a vault, an entire vault where I keep everything that I've processed, which is not everything that I own, third party included, but this is a query that's looking for something with the word tree in its name. And I can sort by challenge rating, but I could also just sort by type. But I really love that each one of these has like its own page. And look, actually, I'm going to click into that. Oh, let me just. And this is 5e stat blocks.
Yep.
So it looks like an image, but it's actually not. It's in code blocks. So I think some of these fields are optional and others are mandatory, right? But this is
Well,
the 5e one.
yeah, realistically, everything is optional. You don't have to put
Okay.
anything. Especially, there's another field that you don't have in here, the monster field, that if you have a monster in your bestiary, which is either it comes with the SRD or you can import
Oh, yes.
monsters from certain sources. Um, so if you have that field, everything's optional. It'll just render whatever's in the monster, and then you can add in stuff to overwrite it or whatever. But realistically, you don't need any of this.
I almost never use the SRD monsters because I find them so boring. And my
Yeah,
players have played D&D and they're like, "Oh, vampire, got it. So we need to
yeah,
buff
I
our
know
wisdom saving
exactly
throws," or
what. Yeah, I
some
know
whatever it
exactly how to
is.
fight a vampire.
So I'm like,
Yeah,
"Yes, but have you fought a Wraithroot tree?" So I really love this addition that you added when you integrated dice rolling into it. So
yeah,
this did not 5e stat blocks as it was before did not typically come originally come with these, but now you can just like roll dice directly from the stat block, which is amazing. And it even
yeah. It's a lot of
updates.
fun. Yeah, yeah. It was a
So
lot of
that's
work
really cool.
to get it working, but it was worth it for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and maybe I will show something from my normal vault here. This is admonition. Well, is it admonition or is this call out? This I changed it to the call out format. There's
Yeah,
a slight difference in that these are now block quotes, and admonition was more like code blocks, like add info like this, right?
yep,
It was kind of like that, but it is the same idea, and I use it a lot in D&D for summaries, or I also use it as descriptions, or like if there's something that they may not like this one, there's a tree fight which I use the Wraithroot stats for actually, but if I'm not sure that my party is going to encounter this particular monster, then I kind of hide it. And look, Oh, well,
Yeah.
I
Oh,
guess this
yeah.
is a
There you go.
I didn't actually intend this, but here's a segue to um, another of your plugins, which is the initiative tracker. It looks a bit funny because I increased the zoom just for visibility, but this is a
Yeah.
huge, huge encounter. It's not just my party, it's like a rival party as well. So, what I love about it is not only does it keep track of people's initiatives, but it rolls four monsters by the groups. You can add damage or healing. You can also add statuses. And what I really love is I saw that you changed this. I don't know when you changed it. You're changing things all the time, but now in addition to the like the standard ones, I think that you added a way to oops, what am I doing? Hitting everything here, but you added a way to have custom ones as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that's something that you'd asked me about. You even added in some yourself.
Yes. Oh,
Um,
look,
there it is
and
down
this
there
one too,
in
the
parties.
party,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, that's new.
Yeah.
And the statuses, except I refreshed it and lost the ones that I'd done.
Oh,
But you can add in things for things like I have someone that does booming blade in my party, so I want to be able to mark that kind of stuff. But yes, initiative tracker is amazing. We might as well talk about fantasy calendar while we're
yeah.
here. Oh, I want to show you my non-TTRPG use for it, actually. This is my content board. I've been asking you about like the UI
Yeah.
things, right? But it does work. These are like bits of work that I'm working on. Look, here you are right now.
Yeah.
And so that's one way that I use it as a content calendar because previously I was using Notion for this. So I'm super happy that I can do this on in Obsidian now. But I'd say my primary use for it is still for RPGs. Look at all of the stuff that's going on. Each of these is like a game, and things are happening. I'm tracking like moon cycles, and there's so much. This is the big calendar, but you can also see it in the side panel here.
Yeah. I
And
don't know
I
if you
know
know
that
this.
this is yeah.
You can actually, so the plugin will dynamically change between the small and the big calendar if you drag the little icon into the main panel.
Oh, no, I did not know that. Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool. So I can just drag it back as well. Oh, nice. No, I didn't know that. That's cool. What else do we have here? Initiative tracker leaflet. How could I forget leaflet? Oh, but first, I want to show you something else that I use dice roller for. No, it was the Vault of Magic. Mm. Because I have item tables as well. See, these are all dice roller stuff. So let me go to preview mode, and it has the very D&D like items tables depending on rarity and a bunch of other things. But then I can also do dice rolls on those table on the dice rolls. So I get I get these things at the top here where it says roll four times, and each one is a note on its own, so it's pretty cool. So there's like Inception, dice roller Inception here.
Yeah. Yeah. You can basically nest it an infinite number of times.
Yeah.
It'll last until your computer breaks.
Yeah, I guess so. I haven't gotten to that point yet. But it's definitely done a lot to automate my just my having to come up with items on the spot because it's by CR level as well.
Yeah, and I know some people are using it, like authors will use it to give them random prompts for the day or random like sections of their novel they've written so that they could look at just random paragraphs, which is a
Yeah.
really cool use case.
So I actually, because I think that D&D and TTRPGs in general have a lot to do with just storytelling, because that's what it is when you
Okay.
strip away all the mechanics. It is storytelling, especially if you're doing a homebrew campaign. And this is kind of what I do as well. I have prompts. I have each one of these is a table that the dice roller is rolling on, and I'm kind of collating them from different sources, some third party books. Some of them are just my ideas, some of them are even from other RPG systems. But this is a really great way to get yourself out of the rut of just
Oh yeah.
thinking, just following an adventure that's been pre planned and pre written for you. So I really love it for that. And if you don't like something, I mean, just re roll it,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
it's so easy. I love it so much. I also wanted to show, oh yes, Leaflet. So let me show you, okay, I'll show you Downfall. Leaflet is a way, I don't think we actually discussed it, but Leaflet was it originally supposed to be for TTRPGs as well?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
The
So
real world map came I think it was like 5 updates in or something.
kind of like Fantasy Calendar then. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
here are some awesome things for your fantasy games. By the way, here's something for the real world too.
Yeah.
So this is a map of Downfall from Wild Beyond the Witchlight, and I use Leaflet, well, first because I can zoom in, so that's really cool if I need to see details. And then I can also use it to go to certain places. I can go back to the map. So I love that I can click on
I like
something
that
and
link.
it'll take me just there. Yeah. Something that I don't think I've told you, here's a non-TTRPG use for it. I'm moving to Portugal soon, at least that's the idea.
Oh,
And here are places because I'm trying to decide where to live. So I took
yeah.
a map of Portugal and I'm starting to compile research on each of these. And it's just very nice to be able to see it on a map so that we can plan a road trip. So we actually went all the way up trying to find which one it is, and like I have notes on, how much rent
Yeah.
costs there and whatever. So see, it's not just
That's awesome.
TTRPG. I don't just play all the time.
Just 90% of the time.
Yeah, yeah. And then, okay, can you talk about the other plugins? Because this is where I may need you to demo some things because, I'm mostly interested in the TTRPG ones.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, I have a couple other plugins. Most of these are either like I was just tinkering with something or someone asked if something was possible, and I was like, oh yeah, that'd be easy enough to do. Specifically, like image window, I think I changed the name to second window now,
Oh,
but
okay.
like someone on the Discord asked like, "Hey, can we show a picture in a on a second monitor?" And Obsidian being an Electron app, it's relatively difficult to have two instances of the app running on the same folder, which is why they don't
Mm,
let you open your vault twice on two different windows. But just creating a
yeah.
second window to show an image, that's pretty painless. I've done some Electron work before. I was like, yeah, that's easy enough. So, I took the 20 minutes or whatever it took me to open it or to make it, and then I released it. If you want to show my screen, I can give a quick
Yes,
example. I mean,
sure.
it's exactly what it sounds like. You right click an image, open a new window. There you go. So this is actually a new Obsidian window. It's not one of the hover windows. So you could move it onto a second monitor. You could minimize that window, and oh, that looks kind of funky, huh?
I think it was it the window that you shared and not
Yeah, I
the,
think so.
yeah, not the
Oh, you know what?
screen.
Yeah.
I
Sure.
can
There we go.
oh, okay, there you go.
Yeah. Let me change. Can I change what I'm sharing? Let's see.
Yep, sure you can. So I think Of
There we
these
go.
Of these ones, I've only tried image window or second window, but I think the reason that most people want to use it is just because Obsidian is really made for just one monitor, just your laptop. But many people now, in the age of the
Yeah,
pandemic, want to have it on different places, parts of their monitors.
yep. And I just the other day, a few weeks ago, added it for notes. So you can open a note in a second window and it pulls all of your style information in and sends it to the second window and then renders it with plugins. So you have a read only version of all of your notes on a second window. So,
That's
which is
really
exciting.
handy. I haven't used it for that. I thought it was only for images, but I guess that's why you renamed it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I renamed it. I didn't even think about it until Lycat would he like pinged me on the Discord. He was like, "Hey, you should probably rename this." Like, "Oh yeah." But I'm pretty bad with plugin names. Like Leaflet. What is Leaflet?
What was it? Why did you name it Leaflet?
It actually uses the Leaflet JavaScript module.
Okay.
So that's I Leaflet is a module for creating like map tiles, basically, the zoomable map interface. So I was like, well, it uses Leaflet, so I'll just name it Leaflet.
Well, that makes sense.
Here's an example of that other plugin, the prominent starred files. All this does is it adds a little star to your starred files. Very simple. So that's my only starred file right now, actually. But it was something where like I personally wanted a star there beside my
Yeah.
note, but it has to be a plugin. So it's just like, well, I'll just make it real quick.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you are so quick. Sometimes I talk to you, I'm like, oh, it would be cool if it worked like this. And you're like 10 minutes later, oh, well, I just pushed a new release. Go ahead and update.
Let's see, what else do I got? There's Markdown attributes. So this one's a little tricky to demo, but basically you can add something that looks like this inside your Markdown elements. And when you go into reader mode, it'll actually have that HTML attribute applied. So this is mostly useful if you're trying to target something specific with CSS, for example, like this table will have this CSS class applied to it. So you could target that specific table instead of targeting all of the tables in your notes. Um,
So it's
and
like
this is
kind of
something,
setting the foundation for theme designers. Is that right?
yeah, like I know SLR uses this a lot in
Hmm.
her vault. Um, but it's basically it gives you the ability to be much more targeted with styling because as things are right now you have to be pretty generic, like you can only target if you put a CSS class at the top of your notes in the front matter, and that will still affect all of the tables in that note. Like you can't target a
Yeah.
specific table unless you do something like this. And this is big for Pandoc. I don't personally use Pandoc, but I know I actually modeled this after their syntax so that people that do use it, it'll just export correctly.
Mm. Yeah, I use it converting from like like a Google Doc. I save it as
Yeah,
a docx and then I convert it to Markdown because, not everybody is using Markdown, unfortunately.
yeah. And then what was that last plugin that you had on there?
It was Obsidian Setting Search.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, that's real simple. It just adds a little search box up here. And then You just start typing and stuff shows up.
Oh,
You can click this, it'll take you to it. Find a good one. So like use legacy editor, right? So it's right there.
this is another one that should just be part of core, don't you think?
Yeah, I was actually surprised that they Sherlocked Admonitions and not this one yet. But I feel like this one's
Yeah.
probably coming.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine that they won't pick it up eventually because yeah, it is the more plugins that you have, the harder it is to find exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah, a cool thing about this one too is it actually, so it actually searches through, um, oh yeah, here you go. It searches through plugins too. So it's all settings, it's not just the
Yeah.
core, and it'll take you to them. So,
Oh, are those specific things that you created in Admonition? Can you
oh
tell
yeah,
us about that? I know we're going back a little bit, but I'm interested to see how you're using it.
yeah. So this, the calendar one is just for testing actually. I tend to use Recite. So let me can open this. So this is like one of my lazy DM session plannings, basically. So this would be a
Yeah,
Recite. Whoa.
kind of
This
like
would
the
be a,
box text.
yeah, exactly. So this is just something like I just recite it, um, like here. So I like the map call out. I have it collapsible, and I tend to, if I want to have a map of an area, I just put it in here so I can hide it. Um, this is in process,
So
as you
you do
can see.
use your plugins.
Yeah, some.
So why don't you
Let me.
use the others? I think you said you used something else for initiative tracking, right?
So I actually do use that plugin more. I used improved initiative because you couldn't do something like this in my plugin, where
But
you
now you
could
can.
like click. Yeah, now you can. I added that ability, so now I use it.
I find
Um,
that really handy so I don't have to have another window open, another note for that.
yeah, yeah. Um, that's kind of my what my goal was with some of these plugins was to make it so that when you're planning or running a session, you never had to leave Obsidian. Like you could do it all from
Yeah.
this one program, which I think I'm pretty close.
So when are you coming out with a Obsidian character sheet version of the stat blocks?
That is funny you asked. I
Oh
probably,
wow.
oh no, I don't have it installed. I actually do have
Oh,
a prototype,
what?
and it still
See,
needs
this
a
is
lot
what
of
I
work.
mean.
Yeah, it still needs a lot of work, but I have to find the time to work on it.
Yeah, I'm sure that's difficult. This will be your 14th
Yeah,
plugin?
yeah.
So are
So
you planning for it to be an entirely separate one? Because I was thinking stat blocks could be tweaked so that it's not just monster stat blocks.
yeah, the idea behind the character sheet was to make it basically like D&D Beyond's character sheet,
Yeah,
but inside Obsidian. And then have a layout builder or organizer similar to stat blocks, but I don't think stat blocks has the infrastructure behind it to support a character sheet. Maybe
yeah.
I'll have to think on that.
I I don't think I could ever not use D&D Beyond because it's just also handy to be able to share it among the team, like among the party,
Right.
because it's like the one source of truth, right? But it would be really cool if there were some sort of integration. This is just, I promise I didn't lure you here and then it's actually just me giving you my wish list. But I would really
Yeah.
love for there to be some sort of integration.
Yeah. I mean, that's how Fantasy Calendar started, right? Is
Yeah.
you were just like, hey, I really wish I could use this website in Obsidian.
Yeah.
It's
I
like, oh,
kind
that
of
doesn't
just
seem
not
too hard.
so I kind of just said not so subtly around you, like, oh, it would be cool if there were a fantasy
Yeah.
calendar. But the
So
D&D
I do
Beyond,
have
go on.
I mean I do have ideas around a character sheet, but it needs a lot of work. And that's one of the reasons why I haven't worked on it as much as I could have probably is because like having the character sheet in D&D Beyond has a lot of advantages that having it in Obsidian wouldn't have, or just iframing it in Obsidian.
Yeah, I guess that's true, but I've tried that. There are issues with it too, especially if it's like not a public one, because I don't share all of like my
Mm,
NPC character sheets or whatever. But there's also a lot that I think doesn't have to change. Like I think, your saves and that usually don't change too much, or your skills.
yeah,
And really, it's just the spell slots that you need to be able to track, right? D&D Beyond
yeah,
has I've looked at the request for it. There's actually a Cobalt cookie that it's not really documented, but I think you can kind of use it and just pass that token in with a request.
yeah. I was looking, I think it's Forge maybe. I think Forge has a plugin for D&D Beyond, one of the
Okay.
virtual tabletops,
Foundry?
and maybe Foundry. Yeah, 'cause I don't
Yeah.
use them, so but I think yeah, maybe it was Foundry. Um, I was looking through the code for that one to see how they integrated it. So think I think you're right. I think they had an API.
Yeah, it's not public. I would show you now, except I would show everyone on on the stream and YouTube my
Yeah,
Cobalt cookie for D&D Beyond. But yeah, I've made requests. It returns a JSON file, so could parse
yeah,
it that way. Just a
yeah.
suggestion. So tell us about this Fate Core stat block that you just mentioned, because I just ran a Fate condensed game like last month, and I wish I'd known. What would you be able to demo that, or I should have asked you beforehand, of course.
Um, I may be able to show you something. I don't have the um like data for anything from Fate,
Hmm.
but someone added in a basic Fate core layout. So someone made a pull request and added this in, and I looked. It looks fine. My dog's gonna spoil.
Someone else wants to join the stream.
Yeah. So someone added in this Fate core layout, and I mean, I don't know anything about Fate. I assume it's okay. Let me see. Oops, that's my template. So I can just change it real quick and see
Oh,
what it looks
wait, I
like.
didn't even know that you could pass a layout parameter there.
Yeah,
When did this happen so quickly?
basic Fate core layout. Huh. Oh,
Yeah, because I
no,
was
that doesn't
wondering
look right.
what I
Hmm.
was wondering what that. Oh, okay. I see some fate specific skills on there. Communication accuracy though. Okay.
I think that is me testing Fantasy Age. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, it's
No,
not
that
picking
would
it up.
be so it looks like that might be I don't know if it's meant to be a monster stat block or like an NPC or PC stat block because with Fate you typically have like aspects and that that you need to track.
Yeah. So there's something weird with it. It's not picking it up.
Yeah.
Let me try taking a bunch of this stuff out. Anyway,
Yeah, it's fine. I was just curious about it. I hadn't seen that there was a Fate one yet, but that would be really cool. And I know for my Fate condensed game, I changed the stats completely, like the skills as well. So that's when I would
yeah,
use something like an Obsidian plugin because I tried to find once you get out of D&D, all the other RPG systems are hard to find D&D Beyond like stuff
hmm,
from and for and
yeah,
Fate was one of them because it's just you can change it to be anything that you want. So it's a little bit difficult.
yeah. You know what? I bet I think it is rendering like that because I don't have any of the properties that it's looking for.
Mm,
Because so if we go into the layout builder, so see, I made a copy of it down here and I can edit it. So it's looking for these, like the stress property and
mhm.
consequences, which I'm assuming is fate specific. So this
Yeah, if you
Archmage
take too much
being
stress.
5e, right?
Yeah. Oh,
So this
okay. Yeah.
Archmage being a 5e monster from the SRD, it doesn't have any of the stuff it's looking for. But yeah, you can change the layout here. You can change your default layout here. Uh, you can even, like, if you edit one of these monsters, you can add it in here. So a specific monster could have a default layout.
Wow, cool. I didn't even consider using this. I need to look into that layout builder. I
Yeah,
do need a Pathfinder one now though.
I think someone on the Discord was working on one. I can't, I'll have to look.
Awesome. I hope it's 2E.
Yeah, yeah,
It's way more complex, though. The character sheets in Pathfinder are going to need to be way more flexible.
yeah,
But I think we talked about the TTRPG plugins and the non-TTRPG ones, the ones that have been already accepted as part of the Obsidian community plugins. But what about the ones that aren't official yet? I saw a few on your GitHub
yeah,
page that you've been working on.
yeah. And again, those are just kind of like tinkering projects. One of them, Notifier. I think I'm sure I have that installed. Look. Yeah. So this one, someone on the Discord was just like, "Man, I wish Obsidian could do that." And I was like, "It can do that. Let me make a plugin for
Give
it."
me 5 minutes.
Yeah. So let me see. Hmm, I don't know why that didn't give me a notice. I
So
actually
what is
haven't
it?
tested this on a Mac, so
Oh,
maybe it doesn't work on Mac. But
what should
again,
it
that's
do?
why I haven't. So basically, what this does is instead of having the little notice pop-ups up here in the top left window or top right of the window, it actually gives you a operating system level notification. So like on a Mac, if like you can imagine that like a text notification or something popping up here, it'll give you that instead of the little notice window. Or like on Windows, I think gives you the tile notification down here.
Okay, cool. And
Yeah.
are these things that you intend to I don't even know about the approval process. How does that work? How do you go from building a plugin to actually having it displayed in the official like Obsidian Core app?
Yeah, it so basically like you get your code all wrapped up and put together, and you make what's called a pull request towards the community plugins GitHub repo and add it to a big JSON list of plugins. And then once you add that, the developer of Obsidian, Lycat, will go through your code and audit it, basically. There's a couple of other people that help him out with that because, he gets flooded with these plugins nowadays.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So,
imagine. And it can be a real security risk too.
yeah, I mean, it's executing code on your system. It has file system access and stuff. He has it sandboxed as much as you realistically can and still have plugins that are able to function and do interesting things. But that's why the audit process is there. And most plugins are open source. There's only a couple that are closed. I I know the Readwise one I think is a closed source one, but anyway,
Mm.
so like you can always go back and audit it yourself. Um, but he goes through and he audits it and then suggests changes if he sees things that maybe could break Obsidian. Like if an error happens, it'll just crash the program, or if anything's a security risk. And then once you hash everything out, it'll get approved and then it'll be available in the list to install through this list.
Oops, let me just show you that. Okay.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Yeah, through the community plugin list.
Okay, yeah. And can you also talk to us about Obsidian Block Drag and Obsidian Prettier?
Yeah. So I don't think I even have Block Drag installed anymore. That was
Come on,
something where,
Jeremy. You don't
yeah,
even use your own plugins? What's up with that?
I, I kept seeing people ask about being able to drag like paragraphs around like you can in Notion, I think it was,
And
um,
Rome.
and Rome. So I'd never used Rome, but I was like, that doesn't seem that hard. It was harder than I thought it was, but I did have a functional prototype working. The problem was I needed to handle a few edge cases that I just never got around to fixing. And then live preview
Mm,
released, and
yeah,
implementing it in live preview is a whole different beast. So
yeah.
I just haven't had the motivation to go back and fix it.
Yeah, I this was something that I really missed from Rome because before Obsidian, I used Rome Research pretty heavily, and before that, I used Notion pretty heavily. So both of those were
Yeah,
more like UI based tools, and I really loved that it wasn't just being able to copy something or move something, but also with Rome, there's this cool feature where you can embed something and then choose which one you're embedding. Like it's really transclusion, and you can also edit the embed and have it be changed everywhere. And you could do that
yeah,
by just dragging blocks. So I use it a lot for like doing research and I might have like readwise highlights from in one page from a book or an article or something like that, and then I drag a little bit to whatever I was working on, like a blog post or something, and then it was just like a representation, a digital representation of me physically having papers on my desk and just being like, okay, I'll put a little bit of that here. So
yeah,
I think that's why I would use it.
yeah. I keep meaning to go back to it and fix it up for live preview, but it's a big task, so it'll take a lot of work.
Yeah, and when you're doing this on the side, nobody
Right.
can really fault
Exactly.
you for not working on it every spare second of your day.
Yeah. And
So,
then the last one you mentioned, Prettier, I do have installed. So there, Prettier is a formatter essentially that you can run on anything. It has a Markdown plugin. There is an existing Prettier plugin out there, but I wasn't happy with the way it worked. So I just wrote my own. Um,
as you
I don't
do,
know
you
if
know,
any,
it's that
yeah,
easy to create a plugin.
I actually don't know. Yeah, there you go. So all it does is format Markdown. Like I have a specific set of prettier options that I have it run, and then it inputs these. So those front
Oh,
matter tags. Oh, yeah,
we
sorry.
have a quick question from Gurav again. Could you please briefly explain what is TTRPG? I just came here as a beginner Obsidian user. I'm so sorry, Gurav. Yeah, we should have explained that at the beginning. TTRPG stands for Tabletop Role-Playing Game, and the reason that you have to specify TT is because there are a lot of video role-playing games, but tabletop means that you're playing with like actual dice, or of course, there are visual alternatives these days, but there are games like Dungeons and Dragons, which is the one I think that Jeremy and I both have the most experience playing. But
Yeah,
there are a lot of different systems. Sorry to interrupt you, Jeremy. Please
no
continue.
worries. Yeah, when you like live in the TTRPG world, you just
Yeah.
get used to it,
Yeah.
the acronym.
Yeah.
But that's that plugin. I really just wrote it because I like consistent formatting on my notes, and I didn't like the way the other plugin handled it.
Yeah.
So
So,
that's
what's an
that's one of the
example
reasons.
of what
Go
it
ahead.
would change?
So for example, I think I have this set up like if I have a whole bunch of like random white space in here and I see it took it out.
Mm. See, I think
So
one of the best things about Prettier, not just the Obsidian Prettier, is for collaboration. When you're working on the
right, yeah,
same bit of code, it's really nice to have some standards for consistency and just readability as well. And you agree on it, and Prettier just does the formatting for you. So people don't have to be like, you did something
yeah,
wrong.
right. You don't like format it and then this is a little bit technical, but you make the pull request and every line has changed
Yeah. And
in the
really, it's
code.
just white space.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I
So
used to use Obsidian with my colleague, actually. We were using it on a shared Dropbox vault, and we would be working on the same thing. And that's something that I definitely could have used Prettier for.
yeah, there is an existing plugin out there. That's why I never submitted it. I think it's yeah, I think it's this thing, um, which runs prettier on your vault. But I just wanted it a different behavior, so I just wrote my own.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What are some other plugins that you didn't create that you actually use now that we know you don't use your own stuff?
Um, I don't really use a ton. Advanced tables I use quite a bit of. I feel like Markdown tables they're rough. This plugin helps a lot. I use
Yeah.
data view a little bit, not a ton. I'm definitely not a power user. Um,
Templater?
yeah, I do use templater. Yeah, that's really it. I don't. I'm not a heavy plugin user. I have a whole bunch installed, but I don't. Oh, I use Collapsol a lot actually, but yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not a heavy plugin user.
What do you think of the Obsidian plugin ecosystem in general? obviously you don't think it's too difficult to get started with starting with creating a plugin for Obsidian, or you wouldn't have created 13 or 14 or whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah. The API for the which is basically like what your plugin interfaces with to control things in the app. It's really well made. Like it it has a little bit of an upfront technical like requirement that you need to be able to read the API because it's just a TypeScript declaration file, which can be a little hard to parse if you don't know what you're looking at. But the API itself is very well done, very easy to use. I know a lot of people, their first coding project was an Obsidian plugin, so it's it's uh, it's well made.
Okay, that's awesome. I think I've told you that I've been meaning to look into it, but I just don't have the time. So I
Yeah.
can't even imagine how you're doing it because I know you have a full-time job and this as well. So it's very difficult. How can people, if they have a question about how one of your plugins is used, or if they want to propose some changes, what would you say to them?
Well, I'm pretty active in the Obsidian Discord. So if you have a quick question or something, you can send me a message on there. Um, Requests or bug fixes or stuff are best put on the GitHub repository for the plugin as an issue, just so I don't forget about it.
Yeah. And how can people support you if they love your plugins and they are understanding of the fact that you're not getting paid to do this?
Well, I do have a Buy Me a Coffee page. I don't remember the URL off the top of my head, but I'm
It's actually
sure you
linked
can
in the
put it
description below.
in the description. Yeah. Um,
I have
or
your
I
GitHub
just set up,
sponsors page
yeah,
too.
I just set up a GitHub sponsorship page the other day. So
Do you have a preference?
no, I don't care. They both go to the same place.
Yeah. Okay, just to I'm just curious. If there were a plugin that you personally would really like to see, and it doesn't mean that you have to build it. Like if you could just wave a magic wand and it would just exist, what plugin would it be?
I am really looking forward to when we can edit embeds. I think that would be a really powerful plugin. The new hover editor is getting there for it, but
I don't know
I'm
of that. What is that?
oh, it's I think I have it installed actually. Yeah, hover editor. So this one is pretty cool. So you can hover over a note and you
Mhm.
can now edit it directly in the hover.
Mm. Oh, I
And you
think
can
I
pin
saw that,
them.
but I didn't really understand the use case for it. But I didn't really think of it as an editable block embed.
Yeah.
Can you
So
also just link to a block, or does it have to be a page?
no, I mean it's like anything that will show a hover preview, you can edit. So oh, that's a data view embed. So it's a little bit tricky. Let me just do this. So, oh, where'd I put that? Oh, oh, you can't hover these.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I
There we
guess
go.
that's. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that's. It seems like the functionality is there, it just needs to be actually embedded rather than just on
Yeah.
hover.
So like I said, it's a step towards it, but it's not, it's not actually editing an embed. I've thought about trying my hand at it, but it's a pretty pretty tough technical problem. So I don't know if I want to tackle it.
Yeah, in addition to your 13 other plugins.
Yeah, it would be a lot easier to do if it was integrated into core.
Yeah.
So
And I think that this is a functionality that many people would want coming from other note-taking tools as well. So it makes sense
yeah,
to have this as part of core Obsidian.
hopefully one
So
day.
So, Jeremy, just to close us off, I just wanted to thank you. I personally use many of your plugins, and really it's been amazing to find a note-taking tool that can accommodate and enable my TTRPG addiction. And honestly, it is one of the reasons why I don't see myself switching away from Obsidian anytime soon, because it's a big part of my life, and
Yeah,
especially with things like fantasy calendar that have other implications or other use cases outside of TTRPG. There's just so much in Obsidian right now that is built exactly how I want to run my games or run my life, and I can't thank you enough. I really encourage anybody who's watching this, if you find any of his plugins useful, consider showing your appreciation in the links to his GitHub sponsor and his Buy Me Coffee page below, because he's doing this for free, y'all. Like, let's just respect that. He's not getting paid for it.
yeah, I really appreciate it.
And thank you for coming on here today. And I know you have kids, so thanks for spending the time.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Jeremy, you can stay on, but we're going to say goodbye to them. Have a good weekend, everybody.